They would dip the fur into a vat of mercury nitrate with their bare hands. This helped to shape it into a hat. But as they worked, the chemicals would get absorbed through the skin. Over time, the mercury built up in their bodies, and soon their hands would start to shake. After that, they would become forgetful and have mood swings. And eventually, they would start to hallucinate, becoming known as Mad Hatters.
These are some individuals who survived the impossible. A man whose identity remains unknown was working near a lathe. He spent less than a minute prepping the machine, and only after pressing the start button did he realize his fatal mistake. But it was too late. The man was pulled into the lathe, spinning at a terrifying speed for a full 10 seconds. Until his colleagues shut down the machine, they were horrified by what they saw. Despite the gruesome injuries, the man was still breathing. It sounded unbelievable, yet doctors managed to save the guy. The man spun at an incredible speed, yet still managed to cheat death. Vesna Vulovic, a 22-year-old lady. In 1972, a plane exploded in mid-air, and 22-year-old Vanessa survived and started falling toward the ground. Miraculously, Vanessa landed in deep snow and wreckage that cushioned her fall, and she survived, earning her a world record for the highest fall without a parachute.
If you eat too much junk food, fatty plaque will begin to build up in your arteries. This will lead to them narrowing, which reduces blood flow. And at some point, the blockage can become so severe that no blood reaches the heart. Without enough blood, the heart muscle starts to die, which causes a heart attack.
If you stick a nail into a lemon and a penny into the other side, the acid in the lemon juice will react with the zinc in the nail, causing it to lose electrons. These will then travel through the lemon and toward the copper in the penny. You can then attach a small light bulb with wires, and the lemon will work like a battery, creating just enough electricity to turn it on, all without plugging into a socket. The massive boulder fell, pinning him down and crushing both of his legs. His hiking buddy tried to lift the 1-ton rock, but it was impossible, and the man was trapped all night. The next morning, his friend hiked back down the mountain to call for help. By the time rescuers came, he had been trapped for over 40 hours, and both his legs had to be amputated. But 10 months later, he was climbing mountains again with a modified wheelchair.
Have you ever wondered how they build underwater tunnels? Like, why do the water not flow in? The Channel Tunnel being the longest undersea tunnel, connecting England and France, covering a total distance of 37.9 kilometers. And workers started digging under here, 45 meters under the seafloor. They built giant waterproof tunnel digging machines weighing over thousands of tons. As the workers dug deeper into the earth, they reinforced the tunnel walls with strong steel beams and a thick layer of concrete. This strong construction was crucial to handle the great pressure around them and to stop water from coming into their work area. Well, the craziest part is the British and French started digging together from opposite sides, so they had to line up perfectly so they can meet in the middle. They even looked at fossils to make sure they were digging correctly and were at the right depth. And after 6 years of digging the tunnel, they met in the middle and exchanged flags.
In 2013, a woman survived a 14,000 feet fall while she was skydiving. That woman was Emma Carey, and during the jump, her parachute tangled around her body, and to make matters worse, her instructor lost consciousness, leaving her in an uncontrollable free fall. She hit the ground with incredible force, surviving the fall but ended up being paralyzed. Despite the odds, in 6 months, Emma defied expectations and regained the ability to walk again.
When they stepped on the Nightingale floor, their weight would push on a series of metal clamps hidden beneath the floorboards. These clamps would rub against nails that held them loosely in place, and the friction would make a distinct chirping sound just like a nightingale. These early alarm systems were used in some Japanese castles to alert the guards, who immediately rushed to stop the intruder. She climbed into the barrel before it was pushed into the raging rapids. Even with lead weights to keep it upright, it was tossed and spun through the water, narrowly missing the jagged rocks. Finally, the whole thing plunged over the falls. When she finally emerged from the water, she had no broken bones, but did suffer a scalp wound and plenty of bruises. The stunt was meant to raise money for her sick mother, but the promoter stole the funds, even selling the barrel for a bit of extra cash.
Does size matter? Well, let's make Earth twice as large. It now has a diameter of roughly 25,500 kilometers and is 8 times as heavy. It now rotates 32 times slower, meaning one day lasts more than a month. Your life expectancy would decline as your heart would now have to pump twice as hard to circulate blood in your body. The weight of trees and plants would cause them to fall over. This also affects the plants we rely on for food, resulting in significant food shortages and starvation. For animals, the situation would be similar. Hunting becomes more difficult, especially for larger animals, as they are slowed down by increased gravity. Over the course of many generations, nature would find a way to deal with these changing conditions. The bones of humans and animals will become thicker and stronger. At the same time, our bodies are getting smaller, adapting to the increased force of gravity. Overall, we would live in a very different world, so yes, size matters.
Dude, did we just time travel?
Unless Comic-Con upgraded their realism? Yeah.
He's cut his hand. Fetch the ants.
Wait, did he just say ants?
Yep, you heard it, not stitches. Ants.
Tell me this is a prank show. Dude, are these like medieval TikTokers?
Nah, man, this is real, and I'm both terrified and intrigued.
Oh my god, is this ant glue?
Nope, it's ant surgery. Bro, they're literally using ant heads as stitches.
This dude must have been the first life hack guy. Honestly, respect. This dude invented medieval duct tape.
I'm never looking at ants the same way again. Ever.
Have you ever wondered why white flakes fall out of your hair when you scratch it? This is called dandruff, and it's formed when a fungus called malassezia feeds on the oils of your scalp, breaking them down into acid-like substances, causing irritation. In response, your skin cells renew too quickly in an attempt to repair the irritation, causing dead cells to pile up and start flaking.
If you somehow hollowed out your skin, some people think you could actually inflate it like a balloon if you stitched up all the openings. But your skin is made up of tiny little holes, causing air to slowly leak out. And even if you somehow manage to create an airtight seal, the delicate skin, like your eyelids, isn't as stretchy as rubber. As the skin inflated, the pressure would just cause it to tear.
A plane hit a flock of geese and lost both engines as it was taking off in 2009. On January 15, 2009, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia Airport, just moments away from the disaster. After hitting a flock of geese, the plane lost all of its power, and with no power, Captain Chesley and First Officer Jeffrey Skiles had to make a split-second decision. As they couldn't reach an airport, he decided to land on the Hudson River. He guided the plane down smoothly. Aiming for a safe touchdown on the water, the plane hit the surface with incredible force but remained intact. Miraculously, the passengers and crew managed to stay calm. Rescue boats arrived within minutes, pulling people from the freezing water. The coordinated rescue effort successfully saved all 155 passengers. Despite the freezing water, everyone remained focused on their survival. Turned a potential tragedy into an inspiring story.
He opened the old frame and spotted something curious. Peeling it out, he found an old paper with Declaration of Independence printed on it. Now he assumed it was just an old replica, but went to get it checked. To their shock, experts confirmed it was one of the original 25 copies printed in July of 1776. He bought the frame for only $4 and ended up selling the document for millions. If you drop a loaded gun, most people think it would immediately fire. But most modern guns have safety features designed to prevent accidental discharge. However, older guns might not have these protections. And if the gun lands on the butt, the force of the impact can move the firing pin forward, striking the primer. This creates a sudden burst of gas that propels the bullet out of the barrel. If you lose an adult tooth, a dentist will gently clean it off and preserve the roots. Then they clean the hole, getting rid of any damaged tissue. After that, they'll carefully put the tooth back in its place, making sure it lines up with your other teeth. To keep it steady, the dentist will attach a small splint to the surrounding teeth. Your gums and the tissues around the tooth will start to stick to the root again. Bone will grow around the tooth, keeping it in place. And in a few weeks, the tooth can work normally again.
When you pull the safety pin of the grenade out, this striker's liver gets free and the springs force the liver out of the grenade. Then this striker will hit the cap below, which will produce a spark, and this spark will continue toward the detonator, where a small blast happens. Due to this blast, whole explosive material catches fire. Then what happens? Boom!
If you often forget what you're about to say, you might actually have dementia. In a healthy brain, neurons communicate smoothly through tiny pathways. But with dementia, proteins build up, forming plaques and tangles that disrupt these signals. Over time, this damage causes neurons to die, disrupting memory and communication signals. This can make it harder to remember things and perform basic tasks.
If you're trapped upside down on a roller coaster, blood starts pooling in your head within minutes, causing discomfort and pressure. After a while, this pressure could lead to headaches, dizziness, and potential vision issues due to the pressure behind your eyes. If you remain upside down for too long, oxygen can struggle to reach your brain, which could lead you to lose consciousness. In extreme cases, without intervention, serious brain damage or even death could occur within hours due to heart failure. The cobra instinctively bites the membrane, injecting venom into the sterile glass container. Trained professionals gently hold the snake behind its head to keep it calm and prevent sudden movements. As the venom is injected, it drips down into the container, collecting steadily to be used as anti-venom. But this process is stressful for the snake, and they can become agitated. If this happens, the cobra might quickly strike the handler and inject its venom into their skin. He made the first cut, with his hands trembling in the freezing cold. Just days before, he had diagnosed himself with appendicitis, stranded in the middle of an Antarctic expedition with no help in sight. To survive, he assigned tasks to his team. Some held a mirror, others handed him tools, and all stood ready in case he passed out. As the surgery progressed, the reflection in the mirror became too disorienting, so he relied only on touch. After nearly 2 exhausting hours, he successfully removed his appendix and stitched himself up, pulling off one of the most extreme self-surgeries ever.
If you find yourself stuck in a car underwater, don't panic because every second counts. First, you want to unbuckle your seatbelt and roll down the window. If this doesn't work, kick the window or remove the headrest from your seat and use it to strike the lower corner of the window. Once the glass is broken, quickly push yourself through the opening and swim towards the surface, making sure you don't drown.
If your pet dies, they can be positioned and placed into a freezer to lock in the shape and detail. Once frozen solid, the pet is moved to a vacuum chamber which removes all the air, and the frozen moisture inside the body begins to turn from ice into a vapor without melting. As the vapor gradually leaves, the pet's body becomes completely dry, and after a few weeks, the freeze-drying process completes, leaving a lifelike form with no moisture at all.
Your eyes could pop out of their sockets if you hit your head during a car accident. The intense blow causes bleeding inside the socket, which builds up behind the eye. As it continues to bleed, it increases the pressure until it forces the eyeball forward, causing them to bulge out of your head. Doctors must act fast to put your eyes back and save your vision.
Have you ever wondered what happens to your body when you take Ozempic? Well, before I tell you, make sure to subscribe. See, Ozempic is used used for diabetes and weight loss. It helps mimic a hormone in your body called GLP-1, which is normally released when you eat. This hormone signals the pancreas to release insulin, which helps lower blood sugar. At the same time, it slows down the speed at which food leaves your stomach, making you feel fuller for a longer period of time. This prevents those spikes and drops that make you feel hungry, helping you lose weight. Did you know when you're about to die, your life actually flashes before your eyes? This phenomenon was observed when an 87-year-old patient undergoing a brain scan for epilepsy unexpectedly suffered a fatal heart attack. Remarkably, the brain scan continued after his heart stopped, capturing changes in brainwave patterns. The results showed a surge in gamma waves which are linked to memory recall, causing him to relive the best moments of his life in 30 seconds. If you have a headache, don't try to take pain relievers because this might make it even worse. Instead, get into a warm shower and stand under the stream. Then, tilt your head back so the water can flow directly over your head for about 15 minutes. While the water is soothing your head, gently rub your temples and then massage the tragus of your ear to further ease the tension.
LASIK surgery starts by putting an eye drop on the lens and then cutting the first layer on the cornea. Then, a precise laser gently shaves the soft tissue from the inside of this layer. This is done to fix the shape of the cornea, since the people who get this have an irregular shape. After fixing and correcting the shape, the flipped cornea is set back.
If you've ever woken up in the middle of the night, completely unable to move, you've probably experienced sleep paralysis. This happens during REM sleep. Your brain signals your muscles to temporarily paralyze them, preventing movement while you're dreaming. But sometimes, you wake up before your body has a chance to turn this off, leaving you to experience frightening hallucinations while being unable to move.
If you catch a spider and pull out its silk web, most people think it will continue endlessly. The amount of silk a spider can produce is not unlimited, though it's pretty impressive. Keep creating webs depends on their diet and species, since they need to eat enough to regenerate those silk proteins. And under ideal conditions, some orb-weaving spiders can produce up to 30 feet of silk in a single session, which is about the length of a school bus.
At the end of March 2022, a woman named Candela was waiting for a train when she suddenly felt herself losing consciousness. What happened next was a nightmare. She couldn't keep her balance and fell, her head landing right between two moving trains. Her body then turned parallel to the platform and slipped into a narrow gap. The onlookers at the subway station were horrified. They believed they had witnessed the tragic death of a young woman. The train continued to move for a few minutes. But when the train stopped and the passengers rushed to find her under the carriages, they unexpectedly pulled her out alive. She regained consciousness and seemed to move quite confidently. When Candela was taken to the hospital, the doctors discovered that she had only sustained minor scratches. However, to her dismay, she could not recall any details about the horrific incident that had brought her there in the first place. Doctors and nurses were confused about how she survived such an incident. She felt herself blacking out, tried to warn the person next to her, and came to as one of those who managed to cheat death.
If you have bad posture, you could die. This is because bad posture causes tension and misalignment in your spine, which can compress your lungs. It can also lead to lower oxygen levels and put stress on your heart, increasing the risk of heart disease. And that's why when you stay in the sun too long, UV rays start to kill your skin cells. This triggers your skin to increase blood flow to the damaged area, causing redness and warmth. Your body then sends immune cells to remove the damaged skin cells, making your skin peel off. And that's why during the Vietnam War, Vietnamese soldiers put grenades in cans to surprise their enemies. First, they would remove the safety pin and place the grenade in a can, ensuring the safety lever is held down. These cans are then placed on the ground with a tripwire attached that connects them to a tree. As American soldiers walk through the forest, they would unknowingly hit these tripwires, pulling the grenades out of the can and setting them off instantly. If you use shampoo, you might be going bald. This is because in most shampoos, there are harmful ingredients like sulfates that can disrupt your scalp health and damage your hair, leading to hair loss. To avoid this, you can switch to an all-natural shampoo like Based Body Works. Not only will it keep your hair healthy with its simple natural formula, but it will also nourish your hair through its premium ingredients like aloe and coconut.